needs to, you just need to tell her that.
We're supposed to put these away, right? False clues.
I understand, but she just got here. Good evening. Welcome to tonight's Sholo Unified School District Board meeting. Before we start, I want to remind everyone to hold your sidebar conversations to a minimum. This is a public recorded meeting, so if you have a sidebar conversation, please take it out in the hall. Secondly, please turn your cell phones either to vibrate, stun, or off, because those are heard over our recordings, and they are televised. And we've had problems with that in the past, and we need to make sure that those are kept to a minimum. So at this time, I need to, we're going to have the Pledge of Allegiance by Joy Pierce today. Our invocation will be by Brian Merrill. Before we have an approval of the agenda, I need to have a motion on item 3.3.
I don't think we do.
Just, we'd like to get the whole agenda approved
Yeah,
before we start.
yep.
Okay.
I make a motion for the approval of the agenda,
Minus the item.
minus item 3.3. Is that correct?
Just one name.
Just one name off of item 3.3.
Can I have a second?
Second?
I have a motion and a second for approval of the agenda with one name stricken from item 3.3. Do I have any further discussion?
No?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Pledge of Allegiance by Mr. Joy Pierce.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our dear, kind, and gracious Heavenly Father, as we gather here at the commencement of this Sholo School Board with heavy hearts, and we ask that Thy Spirit will be with us, and that our minds will be open to what is best for this school district, best for the students of this school district, best for the community at large. Lord, at this time we ask for a special blessing on the passing of a friend, and ask that Thy Spirit be with his family. We are grateful to serve. We are even more grateful to have known this dear man. Lord, we ask that a spirit of understanding will be blessed upon this community, so that clear minds will help us through the next few months. We are grateful for all that you do for us. We say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
On behalf of Show Low School District staff, we would like to observe a moment of silence to honor Kevin Brackney, who passed away on Tuesday, February 9th. We remember Kevin as a leader, mentor, and a champion for all students. We mourn his passing and extend our deepest sympathy and love to his family during this difficult time. Please join us in this moment of silence. Thank you.
Item 1.2. We have statement of clarity on the call of the audience, and that is that the board does desire to hear the viewpoints of citizens and considers the responsibility and presentation of these viewpoints vital to the effective operation of our organization. The board also recognizes its responsibility for proper governance and therefore the need to conduct its business in an orderly and effective manner. The board therefore establishes the following procedures to receive input from its citizens. Each person that fills out one of the call to the audience, you are given 3 minutes to give your call to the audience. We cannot respond to the call of the audience. There's only 3 proper things that we can do. We can assign it to an administrative personnel. We can add it to a future agenda item. Unless a specific board member is, unless a specific agenda item that's on the current agenda is being addressed, then that is all that we can do with those items. Any individual desiring to address the board shall complete the form. The board president shall be responsible for recognizing the speakers, maintaining proper order and adherence to the time limits, which is 3 minutes. If considered necessary, the president shall set a time limit on the length of the comment. All these things are written on the form. Members of the public may, at the discretion of the president, be recognized while the board conducts its official business. During an open session, the board shall not hear personal complaints against personnel or any personnel connected with our organization unless other procedures provided by the board for disposition of legitimate complaints involving individuals have been followed. So the first one we have is Mr. Kenny Kale. I understand Mr. Kale has a PowerPoint.
Yeah, and they won't be able to pick it up, so I just have to go off the cuff. You have the presentation there that in front of you.
Okay.
Board President Pam Lazardi and members of the board. I'd like to address you on my retirement. Currently, the school district tells the state retirement system that I started my retirement at the end of June. But if you check on the Arizona State Retirement System's online ending payroll verification form, they tell the people that fill it out, enter the termination date. And then they say typically the final date that the employee worked. And this is on page 10. It's a PDF, and I've cited the location of that. I've talked to the state on 7 different occasions. Each time they tell me, there'll be no problem. You just need to tell them. My last day of work was 5/29. I retired the next day, and they'll clear that up. That hasn't been the case for me. Now, you see a letter of resignation there. It says, "To whom it may concern, this letter is to inform you of my intent to resign at the end of my contract year." Well, that was the original email that I sent you. I immediately got feedback from that telling me that I need to have it printed, signed, and I don't know if they told me to put a date down or not. If they asked me to put a date, I definitely would have. Now, the information from the lawyers isn't that document. You won't see my signature on that. So they don't have my resignation in their information. They also don't have my contract, and they don't have the minutes in which you approved Kenneth Cayley retirement in July. Going on slide 5, you'll see my contract. I think that's what I referred to when I sent my resignation in. And you see the end date is highlighted. That's 5/29/2015. That's the cover page. On the second page, you see that I began work on August 4th and then work until May 29th, 2015. Once again, that's the date that I requested. That's the date that I expected, and that's what the state expects too. The second page doesn't have any dates. The third page talks about insurance. Now, I had to pay for my dental, but my medical insurance I earned by working through my contract. Now, the month of June has always been covered by my contract because the contract doesn't overlap the fiscal year, okay? So this is real common. It's called an insurance tail. It's common practice to provide insurance benefits after an employment period so that there's no penalties or gaps that occur during the employee's transition to a new job or retirement. Then you see the last page of my contract. You'll see on slide number 11, the personnel matters where you approved Kenneth Cayley. My name is Kenneth Kale, but how much money would this cost the district if I received my earned retirement in the month of June? The district would have to have employees' time to change that form. That's your only cost. The district staff could acknowledge that a mistake has been made by a former employee putting that date down. The board could direct the staff to use the typical method of retirement. The board can move and pass to amend the March 12th minutes so that my name is correct and the date of my retirement is correct. Thank you for your attention on this matter. I know that you've received some direction from a lawyer, but I would point out that in the second paragraph it says based on the information that he received. He did not receive my contract. He did not receive my letter of resignation. He did not receive the minutes that are the binding legal document that you produce. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Kale.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to have this put on our March agenda.
I have a motion to add this to the March agenda? Or just
I don't think you need a motion when it
add it to
comes,
March,
Just add it.
when it comes
to
time
March.
for
add it to future
things
agenda
to be
items.
put on a agenda.
Okay.
Yeah. Make it an action item, and then we can come back and just discussion after we follow up with the attorney and Mr. Schubert. Discussion and action. A decision on this.
Okay. Joel, I don't want to butcher this. Quinsbury? Quisenberry.
Well, I'm here as a concerned grandparent about the Sholo High School girls basketball team. I've watched basketball 2 years in high school, 1 year in junior high here in Sholo. My granddaughter goes through school. My main concern is the lack of support by the Sholo High School administration. To the point where when we had senior night this year, 2 of the young ladies are graduating with academic scholarships. Not one person from Sholo High School administration was there. The parents, the coaches, and the grandparents. We'd just like to ask you to look into this for equality for our girls. We don't get any support from the high school at all. I would also like to thank the coaches. Jackie Tinkle, the head coach for varsity, does an excellent job for our girls. Assistant coach Tony Garver, she's a volunteer. And assistant coach Jerry Tinkle, a volunteer as well. We don't even staff our coaching positions for the girls, apparently. JV coaches, Bob Gruner. There are no assistant coaches for the JV. Head coach, Mr. Fassett, he's a teacher at the school, and there are no assistant coaches. We have a considerable number of girls on the girls' basketball team, both of JV and varsity, that are carrying 4.0 grade averages and are on the honor roll. And I just think it's sad that the Sholo School administration doesn't recognize this. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Quisenberry. I'd like to assign this as a follow-up to our athletic director, Mr. Nicholas. And then, pending his results, add it to an agenda item in either March or April, depending on the follow-up from Mr. Nicholas. Leah Chavez?
Hello. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity to speak. My dad just spoke, and you'll get to hear from all of my family tonight, including my basketball family is here. So we do all band together and definitely become one. The difference between the Sholo High School varsity girls basketball and the Sholo varsity boys basketball is astonishing. I know there's differences in teams, and I know that there's differences in boys and girls. I could not believe what I saw this year. That's why I'm here before you tonight. I know that you can't do anything tonight, but you can direct staff, and you can have someone talk to me. I would prefer it not be Mr. Nicholas. If I do need to work with Mr. Nicholas, I will. However, I've spoke with him in the past, and he told me our only other option is to not have girls basketball anymore. So I would prefer not to speak with him. The girls' team receives no pomp and circumstance, no cheerleaders, sometimes no announcers, and sometimes no fans, except for this family that you see sitting back here with me this evening. The boys' team, on the other hand, have pumping music, sponsor banners are rolled out behind the team, and cheerleaders and announcers, and our girls get nothing. I have specific questions and concerns that I would like addressed. I know you can't do anything tonight. I appreciate you hearing us this evening. I have questions about gym time preference being given to boys when the girls are changing gyms at the last minute and even had nowhere to practice. There are banners that state who the sponsors are, yet through a public records request, I was told there is no sponsors for boys basketball. The banner, when you walk into the high school gym, there's a large banner of boys, the boys varsity team. When I asked about girls, stating that I would even pay for that banner, I was told that it would be hung further on down the hall. Why does the boys coach make $400 more per season than the girls coach? At senior night, as my dad said, not one school official was present for those girls. We had amazing seniors this year that took these little girls and are raising them up, and not one school official was there. Vans for travel to tournaments. I was lucky enough to be approved by you to drive a van. We need to look at getting some new vehicles for our schools. There are many more concerns that I have, but as my time is limited, I can't address all of those this evening. But I can assure you that if there isn't an effort made to correct these, I will address you at every meeting. I will come to every school board meeting. And I can also assure you this, you have an amazing group of student athletes. I cannot brag on these girls enough. They did not have a winning season, but they did not give up one time. They played with their entire heart until that last buzzer of every single game. You also have an amazing, engaged parent group that supports these girls at every game. We traveled to the Valley, and these parents went with us. Even though the school and faculty choose not to support our girls' basketball team, they do have a support system in their family. The varsity girls coach is a true gem to this school. She needs support. Show Low High School is lucky to have that coach. I was so excited that my daughter was going to get to play for her. We need to support her and encourage her instead of making things more difficult for her team. Thank you for your time and dedication to all Show Low School students.
Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Chavez. Donna Quisenberry.
I should have spoke before Joel.
That's okay.
I've come to speak to you as a concerned grandmother. My husband and I lived in Apache County for 29 years. We're both retired from the Forest Service. Our kids graduated from Round Valley High School, went all through school in Round Valley. We've retired and moved to an area north of Benson on the San Pedro River, and we drive 4.5 hours to get to Show Low if we can come on the dirt road. If we have to go through Tucson, it increases our time by 1.5 hours. We've been to most of the girls' Lady Cougars basketball games since 2013, 1 year at the junior high and 2 years now at the high school. We've attended the majority of the games, summer league, tournaments, and season play. This year, my husband missed 2 games, and I missed 4 out of all of the games. So needless to say, we've seen some basketball in the last few years. I'm here because I've observed incredible, obvious differences in the way that games are officiated, not only between in the valley and on the mountain games, but between the various schools as well. It saddens me to say that I have witnessed blatant personal bias and disrespect displayed by some officials towards some of our schools and some of our coaches. They've let multiple games get out of control and allowed flagrant personal fouls to occur with no regard for the safety of our children. I have also observed various degrees of sportsmanship displayed by coaches, players, and spectators. When this type of behavior is allowed, and in some cases it seems condoned by AIA officials, principals, and athletic staff, what are we really teaching our children? I'm very, very concerned that for the safety of all of our girls in all of the schools, if this kind of behavior is allowed to go on much longer. I would like to say, I'd like to thank the coaches again, Coach Fawcett, and I call them like the girls call them, Coach Fawcett, Coach Bob, Tony, and Jackie for the dedication to their team, to our team, and the leadership that they displayed in some of our really toughest games. I'd also like to say that it was a real joy for me this year to watch not only the girls, but the coaches grow and come together as a team. I think next year we'll be even stronger. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I can tell all of you that spoke, as an avid supporter of girls' athletics and of sports in general, I was the official scorekeeper for basketball for the girls and the boys for 9 years. And I can tell you that I myself will meet with Mr. Nicholas, and I will get to the bottom of this. I personally give you my word on that, and I will get back with you. Will you pass these over to Kim, please? So as soon as I am able to get with Mr. Nicholas, and we will get this on a further future agenda item. I believe that's the last call to the audience. So moving on to item 1.4, approval and adoption of governing board goals. Our governing board goals, there are some subpoints to them. Thank you. But the three main goals, I'll read them aloud. Goal number 1 is the board will adopt a servant leadership style for our district. And there are 3 subpoints to that. Goal number 2 is family and community involvement. I think that that's critically important for our community, and there are 3 subpoints to that. Goal number 3, excellent staff will be recruited, supported, and retained. I'll need a motion to approve and adopt those goals.
I make a motion for approval and adoption of the governing board goals.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 1.5, approval and adoption of superintendent goals. The board has decided at our work session that we would table the development of these superintendent goals until we have brought on our new superintendent. And so we'll be doing that at a future date. I need a motion to table the development of superintendent goals until the hiring is needed.
I so move.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to table our adoption of our superintendent goals. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 1.6, discussion and approval of governing board meeting times. For here, we have a recommendation that we change our meeting times from 7 p.m. to 6 p.m. Keeping the location here, we've decided to do that at our last governing meeting with the recommendation from our community. However, we find that a lot of our teachers specifically and our community members, that when our meetings run late and specifically when we have children that want to present, sometimes it's too late for them to be here. And so the facility is available for us to have our meetings at 6 o'clock. And so I would like to know if we have any discussion.
The only comment I have is that that was stated the same time as brought up last time. I work till 6. And so if we approve this, just understand I will be coming in late to most meetings.
And there may be some that you might be able to make.
We'll try.
Do I have a motion to accept the change to 6 o'clock?
Personally, I'm available whenever whenever you can be here, so I'm kind of do what needs to be done.
You, John?
Doesn't matter to me for the most part. 6 is pushing work, but
Okay.
doable.
I can't make a motion, so it has to be one of you.
I make a motion for the approval of the the board meeting times to change from 7 PM to 6 PM.
Was that to 6?
Yeah.
You want a second to that motion? Okay.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Do I have any further discussion? Do I have any discussion from our administrators? We've had this discussion already.
6:30 and met in the middle.
Meet in the middle. That's a good suggestion.
6:30?
6:30 could be okay.
Would anyone like to amend the motion to make it 6:30?
I will amend the motion to make the meeting time 6:30 instead of 6 PM.
Okay, I'll second that motion.
I have an amended motion to move our meeting times to 6:30. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Will that accommodate you?
Any further discussion? I have a motion and a second to move our Show Low school board meetings to 6:30 at our regular location and on our regular times on the second Thursday of each month. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 1.7, discussion and approval of selection process for superintendent hiring committee. So the board needs to determine the criteria for and questions that will be used for the selection of our hiring committee. The board will also need to determine the number of committee members and desired and the composition of the committee. So I've asked each one of the board members to come up with questions, which we have. So we have 5 questions. I want to clarify a few things so that everyone is on the same sheet of music as far as how the committee will work and how the whole process will go, and for those that weren't available for the Tuesday night meeting. So what will happen is the agency that was hired will accept all of the applications for the new superintendent. Those applications will be accepted through that agency. The advertisement starts, I believe, on the 19th. Is that date correct, Kim? That the advertisement starts on the 19th. Once all those applications are collected, the board will do the paper screening process. We will narrow it down to 10 applicants. From those 10 applicants, the committee that will be made up will interview 6 of those applicants. They will choose the 6 to interview, and they will interview 6 of those applicants. After they interview those 6 applicants, they will narrow it down to 2 or 3. My preference is 2, less is better. And then the board will interview those final 2 or 3 applicants and make the selection for the superintendent. Now, so that the committee, the selection process for the committee is transparent. The only person that will know who completes the questionnaire will be Kim. All the questionnaires will be submitted to our secretary, Kim Seals. The name portion on the committee application will be removed. As they're turned into her, she'll put a number on there. So it'll say 1 here, and she'll put a 1 on the top. So we will only get the number. So we will be looking just at answers and a number. So we won't know the person's name, whether it's a teacher, a parent, a guardian, a community member. We won't know who's turning them in. We are only going to make our selection for who's going to be on the committee by the responses to the answers. So there'll be no pre-selection of who's going to be on the committee. We wanted to make that perfectly clear so that no one feels like the committee's been pre-selected. We want to make that perfectly clear to everyone out there. So if you're interested in being on the committee for the selection process, please feel free to either stop by the district. The form will be on our website as well, correct, Kim? And she has some here tonight if you want to take one with you. There are 5 simple questions. At the top, all you have to do is indicate whether you're a parent, guardian, whether you're in K-5, 6-8, or 9-12. And the reason why we did that is because we want to make sure as well that the committee is made up of a nice variety of elementary, junior high, and high school representation. So that when we're selecting committee members as well, that we select teachers, administrators, and community members from that variety of range as well. Since we won't have names, that will be our only indicator as who we're selecting. The 5 questions are really simple. Why do you want to be on this committee? What skills do you possess that would contribute to your effectiveness on this committee? What is your investment in Show Low schools? What motivates you as a volunteer? And then the most important one, would you be available for meetings on April 8th and 9th? Those are the dates that we will be holding our public forum and the dates that we'll be holding the interviews. And so those are the important dates that you need to be available for. So, as we said, we need to determine how many teachers, administrators, and community members we'd like to have on our committee. And we need to approve these questions, which all of you submitted. So I think that process will be probably pretty easy. So why don't we go ahead and approve the questions first, and then we can have a discussion about who or how many we want to have on the committee. So do I have a motion to accept our hiring committee questionnaire?
So moved.
I second the motion.
So I have a motion and a second to approve our hiring committee questionnaire. Do I have any further discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. So now let's move on to the makeup of our committee. We had previously talked about having 2 administrators, 3 teachers, and I believe 4 community members. And we wanted to have that makeup be of a variety of those teachers and administrators across the spectrum of K-12. Do we want to have any further discussion on that, or what is your?
What was the direction of having a board member on that initial screening committee?
Well, I think, if I remember correctly, or of our discussion, and in talking with Mr. Doug Watson, since the board is heavily involved in the initial process and at the end, that really wasn't necessary to have a board member in the middle, because he's going to be there through all 3 phases, and so will Kim.
Okay.
That was kind of my understanding from him. So we can have that discussion. I don't.
No, that's fine. Then 3, 2, 4 is fine.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Joy, John?
I'm in favor of going through the process. I don't know, you said go by numbers, and I was thinking maybe choose 2 from this, 2 from that, 2, but you've been thinking it out.
Well, and we will be doing that, Joy. There is a process for us to select so that we have K-5 representation, junior high representation, and high school representation. We will have that process via the selection process at the top. And then the administrator, the 2 selected from the administrator stack, Kim will just keep that stack of people who fill out, the administrators that fill out the questionnaire separate. So we pretty much know they'll be administrators
Then you have the other out here.
for everything else, yeah.
They will fill this out and turn it in, and
All of it's going to go to Kim. We're not going to see any of it. It's all going to go directly to Kim.
you're going to,
And then we'll see the completed ones with no names, just numbers. And then we'll select that committee in March, I believe. Isn't that the time frame we're doing that? Oh, before our March board meeting.
I'll make a motion then to approve 3 teachers, 2 administrators, and 4 community members to consist of a 9-member hiring committee.
And parents also?
Yeah, that's community.
That's under the community members. That's how it was worded.
I'd like to see 1 parent from each age group, plus 1 teacher from each age group. And I guess I consider a community member a stakeholder that is outside of our stakeholder in our schools, but not necessarily with students in our district.
So that would make a committee of
12,
14? Oh, of 12?
12,
I think it needs to be an odd number for voting purposes.
11, 2, 3 community members.
So make 3 of the selection parents. So I'll have to make sure that we have them annotate specifically that they're parents. Do I have any other discussion on that? So 2
Not to
administrators.
be a devil's advocate, but I want the community to be involved, but I don't necessarily know if I want the community members and parents to outnumber our staff. And so if you increase the number of parents and community members to 6, it outnumbers the actual people that have to work with the superintendent.
That's true.
And though I want the community to be involved, I want our staff to be ultimately invested. And so I still think whether we take parents or community members, I think we need to keep that number at 4.
If you're set on doing parents, and change it from community members to parents. And make it be specifically parents involved. If you don't like the word community members.
Or when we do the selection, we have,
We'd have
we
our-
select 2 that are parents and 2 that are, that mark other, as opposed to, and that those are folks who are, business owners or involved some other way in our community. And we can do that when we're doing our selection process. So that makes out of the 4, we do 2 as parents and 2 as other.
Do you want to leave somewhere for them to write what other they are?
It might be a good idea to put a line there. We could do that. Kim can easily make that adjustment.
But I think it's really, I agree with Brian that the people that have to work every day need to have a very strong say in this.
I kind of think that's why we had it 5 and 4 original. Was our original thought. Okay, so we have a motion to have the committee made up of 2 administrators, 3 teachers, 4 community members, 2 of which would be parents. Do I have a second?
Say that again. That's right.
I have 2 administrators, 3 teachers, 4 community members, 2 of which would be parents.
I'll second the motion.
So I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. 2, 3, 4, yep. Item 1.8, future agenda items. Does anyone have any specific things they want on the agenda, future agenda?
I'd like to request that our teachers and our administrators look at the amount of requirements we place that go home that cost money on our kids. We're living in a community that is struggling. And though I love the curriculum and I love the things our teachers are doing, I think we need to be very cautious of the demands we're putting on our parents and our kids with their go-home projects. So I'd like to see us look into that.
Probably needs to go to our administrators first and then on an April agenda item,
It can be Maine if you want. I just want it looked at.
possibly.
I'll put it on our list for our next admin
Admin meeting? Okay, thank you, Beth. Any other agenda items that anyone would like to say? Joy, John, Stacy? I don't have any major ones until we get through all this other processes that we have to get through. Okay, item 2.1, approval of overnight and out-of-state travel. Travel request for approval. I think this has my name there, but I believe that's Beth.
The two items are listed below. Mr. Adams is requesting for the high school spirit line to travel to the Arizona State cheer competition, and also for the high school golf club to travel to the River Valley Invitational in Needles, California.
Can I make a motion for approval of overnight and out-of-state travel?
Second.
I have a motion and a second for approval of overnight and out-of-state travel. Do I have any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 2.2, approval of modified high school testing schedule of Ames Science. Beth?
The high school is proposing to change the daily schedule for Ames testing on March 23rd, 2016. Only the students taking the Ames, excuse me, science test will arrive to school at a regular start time that date. Students not taking the Ames test arrive no later than 11:35. And I believe this is freshmen taking biology and 10th graders. And it's, I believe, the only schedule change they will have to do with the new AZ Merit.
All right.
This is the only change.
It's any student enrolled in biology. So you might
Thank
have
you.
some juniors, and any student enrolled in biology
Biology.
takes Ames Science.
Okay.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the modified high school testing schedule for Ames Science. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Approval of Title I summer school program for grades K-12. Becky?
So you have the information there about funding out of our Title I funds. At the high school level, we run summer school as credit recovery. In the K-8 spectrum, we run it for students who are at risk for retention, possibly, or if they are minimally proficient for language arts and or math. Then they get a head start on the first quarter standards for the next school year. So it just kind of helps give those kids a little bit of a leg up in that regard. We will be running summer school from June 6th to June 30th, Monday through Thursday for a half day. I don't have the times at this moment, but, and you have the schools there that will be hosting those programs.
I make a motion for approval of the Title I summer school program for grades K through 12.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for approval of Title I summer school program for K-12. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 2.4, approval of fiscal year 2016-17 high school course content booklet. Beth or Becky, I don't know who's covering it.
It's included, and I believe Mr. Adams said there are no fee changes from last year, so I think everything else is as presented.
Make a motion to approve the high school course content book.
I second the motion.
I have a motion and a second to approve the high school course content booklet. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Right.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 2.5, approval of 2016-17 high school student fees. Beth?
So these fees, which were also included in the course content, but those fees are staying the same. No changes.
No changes.
I make a motion for approval of the 2016-2017 high school student fees as listed.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for 2016-17 high school student fees. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 2.6, junior high course content schedule. Megan?
Yes, it has stayed mostly the same, except we have added some intervention courses and a possible STEM elective that we want to think about adding.
Wonderful.
I make a motion for approval of the 2016-17 junior high school course content handbook.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the 2016-17 junior high course content booklet. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 2.7, 2016-17 junior high student fees.
Yes. So our teachers got together, our elective teachers. I believe there's a slight adjustment with foods and sewing
Okay?
to adjust for the costs for the excellent culinary arts that Mrs. Howard is producing from her classroom.
Wonderful. Is it a large increase?
No.
Okay. What page would that be on, do you know? Career and personal development foods, here it is.
I don't know, I don't get that.
It's $20. Yeah, that's not large at all.
They had an executive chef come in this last year and make candy with the kids. He's going to return this semester with the new class and make cauliflower-based pizzas.
Oh,
See if our kids like vegetables.
wonderful. Oh, I love cauliflower-based pizzas, and I can't have the wheat, so I think it's awesome.
I make a motion for approval of the 2016-17 junior high school student fees.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for junior high school student fees. Do I have any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 3.1, approval of termination, resignations, and retirements. Beth?
We have the following resignations for your approval. Molly Hancock, who is a Linden Junior High PE teacher, and Stephen Sharp at the high school.
I make a motion for approval of terminations, resignations, and retirements.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 3.2, approval of new hires. Beth?
You're asking for the approval of Shauna Bolton, new hire for high school health tech.
I make a motion for approval of new hires and transfers.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for approval of new hires. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 3.3.
So we have the approval of the substitutes as listed in your books, certified and classified positions.
I make approval for the substitutes as listed, certified and classified.
Is this where we're going minus one name?
Yes. We approve the agenda minus one name. Okay.
Only name the names you want?
Read the names.
Okay. In the motion? Okay.
Want me to read them? I make a motion for approval of substitutes, certified substitutes, Janet Ward, Darcy Ridgely, classified, Amanda Charlton, and Riley Mulk.
Mulk?
You need the names too?
I will second the motion.
I have a motion and a second to approve certified and classified subs as listed. Do I have any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 3.4, approval of stipends, volunteers, and event workers.
We are asking for approval of the following stipends and volunteers as listed in your board book.
So moved.
I second the motion.
So I have a motion and a second for approval of stipends, volunteers, and event workers. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion, or any opposed? Motion carries. Approval of SEI teacher job description. Becky?
So you have the information there. State law requires that if we have 20 students who are considered English language learners, that means that they're not proficient in the English language and they have scored as such on the AZELA assessment. They qualify to participate in a structured English immersion class. Because we reconfigured the schools, next school year, we're going to reach that 20 student threshold at Nicholas Homestead. So we will be needing an SEI classroom. Those students will receive 4 hours of language-based instruction from a highly qualified SEI teacher in a self-contained classroom. There was the link there for other related laws and things that you might need to look at. I was able to secure a grant separate from our other federal grants from the state of Arizona to pay for this position. It's a year-to-year grant. So, you know, we may have to revisit it every year, but for now, it also provided funding for training for this teacher and some materials for the classroom. So you have the job description. We'd like to get it posted so that we can get this teacher hired.
Wonderful, Becky. All right, so we have, need a motion for approval of an SEI teacher job description.
I make a motion for approval of the SEI teacher job description as listed.
Second.
So I have a motion and a second to approve the SEI teacher job description. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Letters of intent for certified staff. Letters of intent were sent out to certified staff on February 8th. No action is required. Appreciate the fact that those letters of intent were sent out from the district office. Thank you very much for the district office getting those letters out. Please send that on to everyone at the district office. Thank you. Item 3.7, approval of changing the Linden Junior High PE position from a classified to a certified teacher position. Before I ask Beth to carry this discussion, I want to make sure that everyone knows that it is still the plan should 123 pass in May when the vote happens to change all of our PE positions back to certified positions. I already had that discussion with Greg. I know he's not here this evening, but we already had that discussion over the phone prior to tonight's meeting, and he wanted me to make sure that I communicated that to our community. So Beth explained this position.
So this is a somewhat unique position. We have a shared classified position between Linden and the junior high. We were able to find a qualified applicant last summer for this position. The conversation even prior to that person turning in her letter of resignation was one of, we knew this was an issue that needed to be addressed in the current, or in the next year. Dr. Dorsett had talked about the fact that she needed a certified position. So we knew this was an issue that we had to confront. But what we have found in the wake of her resignation is that we cannot find a classified substitute that is willing to write lesson plans, travel between two schools, and do all the things that we're requiring for a minimal pay.
Right.
So what we would like to do, and this becomes an audit issue with our business manager, that we cannot pay a classified position with certified funds. So we would like to change this position to a certified teacher position for the remainder of the year, with the intent that we will fill that with a certified substitute that will serve the remainder of the year for us, and then we will address this issue before the end of the year. And there will be a slight increase in the funding, but that will come out of some of the unfilled positions that we've carried throughout the year.
Right.
So we ask for your support with this.
And just to let the rest of you know, I did have the conversation with Mr. Schubert, and yes, we do have the funds available to cover this.
I'll make a motion to approve the Linden Junior High School PE position and change it from a classified to a certified teaching position.
Second.
So I have a motion and a second to approve the changing of the Linden Junior High PE position from a classified to certified. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 4.1, approval of final viewing and adoption of a variety of policies. No, this is not the one that we need to change. This isn't the one we need to change, it's over here.
The only question I have is policy 492. I want to know who's going to enforce that.
Good question. I would assume that would be our superintendent
And
and
administrators.
administrators.
Okay.
The best way to do that is have them enforce it themselves.
Yeah,
If they're honest, they turn themselves in.
right. Self-reporting kind of situation.
Just tell them the policy. If you can't keep it, tell us. I remember doing that to Girardi. It worked. The football coach. But his wasn't smoking, he's cussing.
I'll make a motion then to approve the final viewing and adoption of all of the listed policy advisories.
I'll second the motion.
We had this discussion at our working session, and I thought we were going to stick with immediately, didn't we?
How many days is immediately?
It's a,
That's 5 days.
so I'll amend the emotion, approving the emotion stating that we'd like to stay with immediately for policy EBBB.
Second.
So I have a motion and a second to approve the final viewing of policy advisories with the one exception for policy 482E BBB. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 4.2, final viewing of policy GCO, or district inserts. There's approval of final viewing of the district inserts as presented and is recommended.
Can I ask what the amounts to be inserted were to be determined? What were they?
75 cents per copy for materials not listed above. And you can either accept those amounts or you can change them to whatever you want.
And then what needed to be clarified on policy GCO?
For that district terminology. Created by
The attorney, correct? Oh,
and
that's
then
right.
brought to the administrative staff.
For their input, and then we, yeah. Yeah, so we just need the motion for that, okay.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to approve the final viewing and district inserts to keep policy GCO as presented by our district administrators and policy KDB-R with the values that were identified previously.
Second the motion.
So I have a motion and a second to keep the policy GCO as written by the administrators and to keep KDB as written. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 4.3, first viewing for items, policy changes for numbers 435, 473, and 510.
I'll make a motion to approve the first viewings of said policies.
We need to make one change.
Oh, these are first viewings.
Yeah, but we have to make a change in the first viewing per the attorney. So we have to strike items.
Okay, on policy 435, GBEF, it was suggested that we strike bullets 2 and 3.
No, 3 and 4.
I'm sorry, 3 and 4. Do you guys want me to read what they are?
Just make the motion.
Make the
I'll
motion.
withdraw my motion so that then you can make whatever you
As
want.
long as we have this and the end, this is what you guys agreed to.
So the motion is just to strike bullets 3 and 4 from GBEF and keep the rest of the language as stated.
In speaking with the attorney, he said that we need to have the motion to strike those in the first viewing.
If you want to take or their legal input, to make sure the district is still covered. Those changes need to go to the
Now,
motion, so a motion would go
on the first viewing.
We would like to present this to the attorney to see if we remove those closed items, or just first viewing, and then if you want to change it, consent or without legal advice, and on second viewing, you can just motion to strike it.
Okay, so
Depends on
we
if
want
you
to make,
legal input or not.
we want legal input on making the motion to strike items 3 and 4, I think is what we,
Bullets 3 and 4.
yeah.
So I'll second Brian's motion for approval of first viewing.
With legal
With legal
input.
input.
So I have a motion and a second to approve the first viewing with legal input, striking items 3 and 4 on policy 435. Any other further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. Item 6.1, consent agenda.
5.1, 5.1
Oops.
first.
I flipped too many pages. I don't even have a 5.1, do I? Let's go back to the beginning, because I don't have a 5.1.
Do you know if we've used this line of credit?
Item
this
5.1,
last
business
year?
and finance, approval of letter of declaration for Wells Fargo line of credit for 2016.
We have, every year, we have to declare who will be holding our line of credit. It is the same as last year through Wells Fargo Bank in the amount of $2 million.
I'll motion we approve.
Second the motion?
So I have a motion and a second to approve our letter of declaration for Wells Fargo. Any further discussion?
Did we use any of the line of credit last year, you know?
I'm not sure.
That would be a great
Mr.
I
Schubert would have to
haven't
answer
heard of
that.
it.
stone.
Thank you. Good question.
Any further discussion?
I'm ready to vote. Question?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 5.2, approval of Arizona Mutual Aid Compact.
This is an agreement with Navajo County. It's a 10-year agreement to provide services in the case of an emergency or natural disaster. That would be using our facilities as a Red Cross location, using buses to evacuate, et cetera. The district does have the ability to recoup fees in case of a state-declared emergency. And actually, we've just had our 2 mental health specialists have been asked to be a part of the Navajo County emergency response system they're putting together. So this actually lets us do that and allocate those school resources in the event of some crisis anywhere in our county.
I make a motion for the approval of the Arizona Mutual Aid Compact.
Second.
So I have a motion and a second to approve the Arizona Mutual Aid Compact. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Now, onto the consent agenda. Items. We can do these all together, right? Consent agenda? Yes.
Greg always does this.
And Greg always does this, so. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as written?
So moved.
Second the motion?
So I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as written. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Before we make a motion to adjourn, I would like to thank our community for watching and wish everyone a happy Valentine's Day. To all of the community members out there and for our loving community, we send our Valentine's wishes to you for safe holiday.
I'll motion we adjourn.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Good evening.